Hey everyone, welcome back to Unwritten with Thomas Malpass, and thank you so much for listening and watching wherever you are in the world. I'm truly grateful for anyone who listens, watches, and shares these podcast episodes across the world. Today I have Pam Wagner, a successful and nomadic traveling entrepreneur. We talk about her life growing up in Austria, how she overcame many life challenges, what she's learned traveling to more than 100 countries, and building her successful advertising company simultaneously. Pam explains the power of visualization, the importance of self-care and taking care of yourself, why living with honesty and learning from mistakes are key to living a happy and fulfilling and more meaningful life. Thank you again and enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Unwritten Podcast with your host, Thomas Malpass, where we are on a mission to help the world find more purpose, passion, and peace in their everyday lives. Through deep conversations and connection, tune in because we are all on this journey of life together.
So it's about 4 p.m. and it's a sunny day, so very exciting. Where are you?
Austria, is that where you're from?
Yes, I'm originally Austrian, born and bred here. As far as we can track it back, my family's from Austria. Parents, grandparents, great-grandparents. So yeah.
The only other person I know from Austria is Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Hey, that's what I get. That's like the positive response. So I do get some sometimes some negative responses as well. Where
Wolfgang
people are like,
Puck.
hey, there's other people in it. Oh yeah, wow, you know him?
Huh?
You know him? That's amazing.
You know him too? That's amazing.
No, he's a cook. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like we're foodies. I'm a foodie. I bake like every week, right? So anybody
Nice.
is like a cook or something. Yeah.
Well, are you ready for this podcast?
I'm ready. Thank you for having me.
Because this podcast is all about just, despite all, like, I know you've done so much, but this podcast is like mainly to just get to know like the person like
Mhm.
deeper and what makes these people so great.
Sounds good. Where are you based, by the way?
Oh, I'm in Austin, Texas.
I love Austin. I've just been there last month in March. Like I spend most of my summer there. I love
Oh,
Austin. I'm
really?
up in Georgetown usually. Yeah.
Oh, that's not that far. Georgetown, that's
Yeah, I
like,
have quite a community there. Yeah.
yeah. It's kind of funny, like, cause you speak like multiple languages. Um, what language do you think in?
Great question. English
You think
now
in
the
English?
majority of the time. Yeah, sometimes German, but really 90% of my day is English because that's the language I use most. And I've
Hmm.
gotten to the point where even when I speak German, I sometimes have to think
Think.
about how I say it, even though that's the language I grew up in, only speaking German, right? I didn't grow up bilingual.
Uh, yeah, cause my mom, she grew up bilingual. She's from the Philippines though, and she says she thinks like in both. Like she'll think in Tagalog, which is Filipino,
Yeah.
and then it's hard for us to understand her text sometimes because it's like she thinks mainly in Tagalog, but then when she's trying to translate it into text, it like comes off like the grammar is just like, what are you saying?
You get
But
it?
anyways, welcome. Can I call you Pam?
Yeah, that's fine.
Pam Wagner?
Yeah.
Pam Wag? Wagyu,
Nah,
like
please
steak.
not. Let's keep the surname as it is. So
Huh?
yeah, let's keep the surname as it is.
Hey, welcome to Unwritten, Pam Wagner. My first question is, who is Pam Wagner, and what drives you, and how you ultimately decided to be where you are right now and do what you do right now?
Sure. So who am I? I tend to say a goal achiever and a dream achiever. So if there's anything I dream I want, I usually tend to go get it and hopefully inspire people along the way to do the same. The what got me where I am today? Um, Not a plan. Definitely not a plan. Following my intuition, following my gut. Failing a whole bunch of times and getting up over and over again and learning along the way of understanding what is good for me, what feels good to me, and then focusing on doing that. Because I think in life, really the most important aspect is that you enjoy the ride that we're all in here for, and that you also understand what makes you really truly enjoy that ride.
What is like, I guess, like, who was Pam when she was young, like in adolescence?
Very nerdy. I loved
Nerdy.
studying. I
Mm.
was definitely a teacher's favorite. I always raised my hand first. I loved participating in class. I always did sports. So I started competitive sports very early on, basketball in particular. I loved basketball. I would even say that it probably saved quite a bit of my life. I found my refuge in that. And oftentimes a lonely person because I didn't really have friends until adulthood. I was bullied a lot. I was always um left out when things were done among my peers, and I always resonated much better with older people, with adults, even in my teenage years and as a child. So it was kind of like trying to find a balance of like, hey, I love doing all these things. I'm obviously good at school, but socially with my peers, nothing resonates.
Why do you think you were like, what were you bullied for?
So I was always 2 to 3 years younger than everybody else in school because I skipped grades very early on. And I wasn't just
Okay.
younger, but
Yeah.
I was also in sports pretty good. So in competitions, even though I was younger, I was the fastest, whether I was running, whether I was sometimes skiing or like other aspects. And then I also loved school, and it was extremely uncool to love school. When other peers asked me to copy my homework, I said no. And I literally told them, do your own homework, because I was like, this is what really helps you. So,
Yeah.
I kind of didn't give a shit early on about being liked, which kind of came
That's
with
good.
not being liked. It was a vicious circle, kind of, but it
Mm.
also helped me a lot later because I don't really succumb to peer pressure. I don't care if everybody in the club stays till 1 a.m. If I feel tired at 11, I just go to sleep. I go home, right? And that's got me really, really far. And
I
yeah,
love that.
so it was hard at the time, but I'm grateful it was that way, and I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Why do you think you are so like strong with yourself? Like, where do you get that?
I had to be because I grew up without siblings, and I had a very rough childhood where school was my refuge, same as like sports, because
Mm.
whenever I went home, I when I talked about problems in school or being bullied, I was just told by my mom that, well, why don't you just change yourself? That was her response to me being bullied, right?
Change
So kind of
yourself.
like, hey, yeah, so like kind of like, aren't you surprised that you're being bullied because of the way you are? right? So which was very
Mm,
hurtful. Um, and then her and my relationship has never been really, really good. To the point where it almost doesn't exist these days.
mm,
I now look at her with love, but back then it was a constant fight. I
yeah,
was told almost every day that you're not enough, you're not worthy of love, you don't do enough. Like if I came home with all A's and one B, I got scolded for the B.
yeah.
And that despite of me being younger than everybody else. Um, and I was always told all the things I kept doing wrong, and that repetitively, and even months, years after they happened. So it was all this like mental pressure that was really at that time insane. And so what helped me was always my mind because I didn't have friends with who I could talk about it. I listened a lot to
Mm.
Eminem, so I really loved Eminem, and he helped me a lot. So big
What's your
credits to him.
hey? What's your favorite Eminem song?
Oh God, I know most of them is by heart. I mean, there's
Lose
so
yourself.
many.
That's the my
Obviously,
go-to.
obviously. Um, Mockingbird.
Mm,
Which one is the one with clean? I think it's called Cleaning Out Your Closet.
yeah, with Dr. Dre.
Um, yeah.
All
And I've
those.
just so much respect for him. So yeah.
Yeah, man, that's crazy because despite you working hard and in my eyes, if my daughter did that, because I have twins, I'm a single father majority of the time. Um, if my kids did that, I'd be proud of them. And despite all of that, people, not just your mom, I think people in general, we focus on the flaws and not the the process and the work it takes. Like you can, I don't know, you could do 100 good things and one you trip one time and people will focus on that one trip.
Yeah, because I mean, a good 90% of our thoughts are negative during the day, and if it's worse for people who had trauma. And if we don't actively work on that, which takes energy, then that obviously is what leads
It
our lives,
manifests.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
always
I
tell
knew that
people
if
that.
I succumbed to that,
Yeah.
I was literally gonna die. Like it would have probably killed me because of all the
Mm.
things I was going through. But in the end, my mind ended up saving me because I knew how I could shift very early on without knowing what it was. I mean, age
Like
14,
subconsciously.
15. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was like I was literally thinking, even though my life is shit right now, I know it's gonna be so much better one day. Like I understood that. Understood
That's
that.
that's so positive and optimistic.
Yeah, and that's how it turned out to be, right? And I kind of knew also from observing other people is like with as much as I've gone through,
Mhm.
my life's gonna be really great. And anything that's gonna happen is gonna be nothing in comparison to what I've already been through. And that's been true throughout.
But where do you think you get that from? Like that like strong conviction and trust in yourself cuz that's hard for some people. You know, like it's hard to trust yourself.
I think I've seen early on the power of visualization where I was aware of, I didn't
Mm.
know that it was called that. I had no idea what I was doing, but I realized when I would play basketball, and I was lucky enough we won some championships and all of that, where I
Yeah.
saw myself practicing moves in my head, and that's how it
Uh
came to be.
yeah.
I had these like, I, short imagery of like what would happen a second from now or a minute from now. So I noticed that
Oh
connection
wow.
even with
Like
tests where
micro
I hadn't studied.
visualizations.
Yeah. Or like tests where I hadn't studied, and I literally approached in a way I was like, I'm gonna know everything I need to know in this moment to pass this test, right? And I realized how it worked. I was like, oh my God. Like, but obviously at that point in time, I couldn't talk with anybody about it, right? But I noticed how it made me feel better, how it helped me do life.
Hmm.
And so I kept doing it.
What do you visualize today?
Mostly now it's about business
Mm.
aspects, increasing revenue, with that obviously increasing the value and the services and all of that that we offer. Um, that's pretty much the main goal
Do you
because
have
everything
a
else is okay. Yeah.
do you have a end goal with that?
So, I mean, it's now been more than 8 years that I've had my ad agency, and a lot of people often have asked me, do you want to sell it? What do you want to do? And for me, I just know I want to keep doing the work for as long as it's valuable to other people. And but I also know that we can do so much more. So I don't really have an end goal. I think I just want to help business owners really understand that there are stress-free ways to do things and they've been doing them now. And a way to approach that is, by getting ads right and other aspects.
So you could see yourself doing that for a very long time.
Honestly, as long as it's of value to the people, I'm not much of the passion theory believer.
Hmm.
I've noticed also that I like what I do when I know I'm good at it, and when I'm good at it means for me there's value in other people for it or of doing it.
What does passion mean to you?
I think I might not have a concrete answer for that.
I
It
think
it's
that's
doing
that's
something with a
why.
lot of no, I mean doing something with a lot of
Okay.
like fire in you, right? So I am passionate about baking.
Mm,
I love baking, but would I want to do baking
mm,
6, 8 hours every day? No.
yeah.
I
Like a
love
hobby.
playing the
You see it
piano.
as like
Yeah,
hobbies.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's where passion is unique for the individual. Because for me, I want to my like end goal with life is to that's the whole mission of this podcast to align purpose, passions and live a life of peace at the end of the day. And I think you're living your purpose right now. You're it's it's a service to other people that has
Mm.
value. That's your purpose. Your passion is exactly what you said. It's that fire. But for me personally, it's an individual thing. For me, I want my purpose and passion to align so that I can be working and feel fired up while I'm providing a service of value to people, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and to be honest, I feel if you want to use the term fired up about my work. Like I get up every morning and I'm excited about what I do.
So you are
So,
somewhat passionate about
yeah, if you want to say it, yeah, maybe.
it.
I guess,
You just
yeah.
don't like that word.
Could be, could be. I think it is, especially in the startup world and so on. Like, and I used to be a lot in the world, not so much anymore today. But a lot of people say, "Oh, do what you're passionate about," and I'm like, "Yeah, but you also don't really understand what that means because
Mm,
you might not like doing it as often." Then,
as like a work, as a job.
hmm,
Yeah, I feel like that's another aspect. Like it's common with like artists. Like I just love to like people who just love to draw or any type of creative endeavor. But when once it becomes successful or once they start to monetize it and make it into a business, they start to not get passion. The passion starts to deplete.
yeah, but for a lot of them, it has to do with money mindset and how they
Mm,
connect with art with money. So I would argue that that's more the reason why they don't enjoy it, because there's some beliefs about, how artists or why they should make money or why not they shouldn't make any money.
What do you think is a good belief for them to start believing?
My art is of immense value to anybody who engages with it, and they're willing to pay me lots of money for it.
Have you ever been on Princess Cruises? It's like a cruise line. Um, they they're like a cruise line that specializes in fine arts, I guess. And I went on one, and they had pieces. They were selling pieces for like 100k pieces, and people were bidding for them.
Yeah.
So I think if there's a market for it and you, I guess, brand yourself the right way and know your value. I mean, it's just like you see a Gucci white plain white tee versus a Gucci or versus a Hanes or a Walmart white tee. It's like that's the
Yeah.
difference when it comes to art. One is $500, the other one's $5.
Yeah. Because it's a brand.
Yeah. So Pam, you you were on Forbes 30 under 30.
Hmm.
How did that feel to be on that?
So it's I'll give you the TLDR, the too long didn't read version, and then the longer one, the real one.
Okay.
Um, the goal feels normal when you get there.
Mhm.
The goal just doesn't feel normal as long as you think you haven't achieved it yet. And so the way it went very different for me because usually people are used to applying, and then there's a committee that selects and chooses the people from those applicants. And the way it happened for me was quite different, where, very long story short, through like networking and everything, um a former Forbes employee sent me a message on Facebook or a friend request, and I asked her, I was like, hey, just let me know why you'd want to connect because on Facebook I only accept people I know or, I'm gonna meet at one point or do business with. And she messaged me, she was like, hey, yeah, I've been seeing what you're doing in like the Forbes WhatsApp group and like we would love to feature you. And so I was like, oh,
Mm.
okay, interesting. So I think 2 weeks later, so we met up for coffee, and about 45 minutes into the conversation, she goes, oh, and by the way, we're taking you on this year's Forbes 30 and the 30 list. We're
Mm.
including you in that list. And obviously, in that moment, like I had to keep extremely calm and cool. But in my mind, I was like jumping up and down, right? I was like, ah, you know? Because I was like, I dreamed, I'd visualized this, and for like a year and a half or two, and now it happened, and it happened in a way I could have not imagined it. And that's what I try to tell people is when you have goals, do not be tired of how you achieve them. Because there's going to be
Mm.
so many better and easier ways. Like if I had gone the route to be like, I have to apply, I have to apply. First of all, the application would have been a lot of work. I saved that, you know, and then having to wait for the result of that and everything would have been so much time. And instead of that, this is how it happened. But I could have
Mm.
not planned it because my mind didn't know that that even existed. So, yeah, I was excited. And then at one point it just went to normal.
I think I think that's just your personality, and I'm kind of the same. But that also, I guess, the way the next question I ask is because I'm kind of hard on myself in that way, in that I don't know when to really celebrate myself. So like that reminds me of that because when I do achieve things that might have been a goal of mine, whatever, I always go back to this like it's like an old proverb or something. It's like um good thing, bad thing, who's to say? And it's like if something bad happens, okay, something bad happened. If something good happens, okay. You remain like nonchalant and neutral about everything. And that's like, I think we share that same testament. Um, and I think that was you. Like you, so when do you allow yourself to really like, I don't want to say like go wild or whatever, but just when do you allow yourself to celebrate yourself?
Yeah, so I think that's something I'm still learning. Um,
Mm,
but I'm more like that's what you mentioned is a very stoicistic way of thinking, and I think it Buddhist or
what is
comes from
it?
that stoicistic,
Stoicistic?
stoic, the stoic, a stoic way,
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah.
stoics,
Yeah.
um, where you're like everything is neutral pretty much that you move at.
Yeah.
But one thing I also understood is if I want more of the positive stuff, I need to tell my brain that. So I need
Mhm.
to also live the emotions because that's how the brain understands it, right? So I celebrate in different ways. I saw like so last month was my birthday and I hadn't planned much, but literally 4 days before I was like, you know what? I haven't been skiing for a long time. Let me go skiing. There's a really cool hotel that I always go to. It belongs to a friend. It's in Austria. And why not just go there and just go ski and just on my birthday be out in the mountains and then, in
Yeah.
the evening be in the sauna and steam bath and everything and enjoy all the healthy food that they have. And, just after I decided that, literally a couple hours later, I got to know that also the skiing World Cup was there. The 20 best
Mm.
female and male skiers were competing that weekend. And literally on the table next to me at breakfast was a Swedish women team, the Swedish skiing
Oh
team
wow.
sitting, right? But if I planned that, it probably would have never happened that way, right? But I just see opportunities and then I celebrate. So I don't always celebrate when it happens, but I know that the right opportunity always comes to celebrate, right?
Mm.
So I'm flexible on the time, I would say, but I tend to try to do it. Probably a bit different than other people. So a lot of people would say, "Oh, I celebrate by going out, right? Or I get drunk or whatever." And for me, it's more like, "Oh,
Uh,
I take a trip, or I bake something nice for my family, right? Or I just go to the spa for a day." So that's how I celebrate. I do something good for myself or the people around me.
no, I like that. I like it. Um, so what's like your typical day look like?
Ideally, watch the sunrise, get up with that, meditate, work out. Make some sort of coffee, mushroom, latte, whatever I feel like. Um, and yeah, it usually takes a good 2 hours in the morning for me before I do any work, and I
Like a
consciously
ritual.
take that and enjoy it. Yeah,
Yeah.
journal, sometimes I journal, or I listen to, like right now I'm part of a business program, so I'm listening a bit of that to tune my mind into the right ideally frequency or wherever I want to be, so to speak. Not always that easy. I don't always do it every day, but I try to do it as often as I can.
I have a similar routine. I'm trying
What do you do?
to wake up earlier though. Mine is kind of the same, but since I have kids, I take them to school, get up, take them to school, get them ready, and then after that, I do like the same thing pretty much. Meditate, work out, try to sweat, um, try to take a cold shower, wake me up, coffee, like similar. Um, but I'm trying to. I don't know. It's hard for me to wake up early because like I like to. Uh, I'm kind of a night owl, but yeah. So that's like your
Why would you
productive
want to
day,
wake up early?
huh?
Why would you want to wake up early?
Um, I guess to not feel like rushed sometimes,
Okay.
to kind of like slow down. That's probably why. But so that's your productive day. How do you manage? Because you've traveled to 100 countries.
Yeah, pretty much.
Are you gonna try to travel to 200? Is there even 200 countries on in the earth?
Yeah, so depending which list you take, right? And yes, I am hoping to be able to visit every country in the world. So that's a real goal.
Damn.
I've been to the Philippines, so
Oh, nice. I want I want to do that too.
go for it. Nothing's stopping you. I know so many people who are homeschooling their kids. Um, even just what was that 2, 3 days ago? I There's this one Facebook group, and there was this woman who posted in there questions about certain countries, and apparently they're like a group of 5 families that travel together with their kids, location independently, and homeschool them. And it was amazing to read about that. So yeah, it's possible.
No, I think that is like a form of like teaching. Like you're
Mm,
traveling and then you're seeing different cultures and you're seeing the world and teaching them about the world through the experience and not just like
mm.
look at this book and read it and take a test.
Yeah.
But my question for that is like how do you manage like your work day and traveling like during this whole 100 country over the years? Like how did you manage that? Because at least for me, it's easier by yourself, obviously. uh with kids, they're like wild animals, but it's still I get exhausted from traveling sometimes, and you experience jet lag a lot, and you have to like reset. So how do you manage all that?
So I think it depends on what energy you approach traveling with, right? If
Mm,
it feels like something exhausting, it will be exhausting for you. For me, it's something that excites me. So I look at it with an excitement, right? And so I think obviously with kids, it's probably a lot more different, but the energy principle I deeply believe still applies to that. So do I believe in traveling with my kids that it will be exhausting, or do I believe it will be exciting? So that kind of like core energy defines a lot of how we experience whatever we do. Now, I do experience jet lag. I tend to give myself about a day wherever I arrive after that to just, settle in and take it easy. Sometimes, I mean, now I sometimes have to just have calls the next day or whatever because I'm kind of used to it. But I also limit my calls to 2 days a week usually, and then the rest I keep free because just I need that free creative time. And yeah, I think I try to keep in my routine wherever I go. So even when I travel, I try to do the workout, the journaling, the meditating, right? So that helps a lot. And I just know how I work well, how I work best. So for me, blocks of like 2, 3 hours work, let's say in a coffee shop, and then maybe taking a walk, taking a lunch somewhere, and so on, and then having another 2, 3 hour work session, that works best for me. Like I'm not a person who can sit for like 8, 10, 12 hours a day. I
yeah, I'm
have
the same. I'm the same. Yeah,
It's
I
almost
can't.
impossible. I mean,
That's
there's
hard.
maybe
Yeah,
one 12-hour day per month. Maybe one. That's already a lot, to be honest.
that's a lot. Yeah.
Um, but that's an exception. Then the next day, I literally might only do 1 or 2 hours, right? So
Hmm.
I immediately balance it out. But it's much easier to still live the life that you want abroad than most people think because you have good internet everywhere. You have a gym almost everywhere. Um, with Airbnb and like all these other platforms, you can choose the type of accommodation you want. So you're very flexible in terms of recreating the lifestyle that you already have. while mixing it with whatever local or travel experience you want to have.
Hmm. No, I agree 100% with the mindset part. Because before you go into anything, it's like it's basically it like goes back to the optimist versus the pessimist. It's like if you go into it being pessimistic about it, you're gonna feel pessimistic about it, and vice versa. I think just I've had a negative association with it because I was traveling a lot with my kids during COVID, and that
Mhm.
was just it was the worst experience ever. Like just trying like people constantly telling you to put your mask on, telling my babies to put a mask on. Yeah, and they were like bugging about like poke the bear status about like control your kids. And yeah, I was traveling a lot during COVID, and that's why I get this exhausted feeling. Um, but at the same time, it's like a balance because I enjoy traveling as well. So,
Yeah, and I mean, now you probably just have to retrain your brain to say, hey, you know what? Okay, these were bad experiences, but I'm not looking to recreate them. In fact, there's not even anything dangerous anymore about those experiences or about traveling. So now instead of practicing exhaustion, we're going to practice excitement. So, and then
mm,
you can work on like different rituals, like before you travel, do you, I don't know, want to sing a song with your kids before you leave the house, right? Or you play a card game every time. That's fun for everybody before you take off, right? So there's these little triggers and steps we can set to help us refocus.
so do you believe in like work life balance?
It's an interesting term. I think it's that it's a concept that people need to hear about because otherwise they tend to completely forget about it or not
Mm,
understand life at all. So it's good because it helps people.
mm-hmm,
I think for me in general, you should be doing something that is your life. Like I don't I live my life and part of that is work.
yeah,
But if I don't work for 2 weeks, it's not
mm,
like I feel like I'm missing out, but my brain wants to do something. Like when I
yeah,
calm down, automatically my brain comes up with good positive stuff. It's not fearful stuff that comes up, it's good stuff, right?
mm,
So I would more look at it from an energy perspective and energy management. And a lot of people talk about time management. A lot of people say, oh, time management is my issue. Or I'm procrastinating because I don't know how to manage my time. Or I don't know how to manage my time with kids, right? But that's
mm-hmm,
not the case. You just don't know yet which are the aspects that fuel you up in terms of energy and which are the ones that are draining your energy. And our goal is pretty much to increase the tasks that fill us up with energy and decrease the ones that drain us of energy. And a lot of people spend too much time doing tasks that just drain them because that's their habits, that's their life, that's what they're used to, without actually focusing on doing more of the things that they love or feel good about. And a lot of people don't do that because they think, oh, kind of like no pain, no gain. You gotta hustle hard, right? So it's like all these stories that you gotta suffer to have the good in life, where science has already shown us if you do that, you're just gonna die earlier. So it's not true, but it's what people know. And what people know and have anchored emotionally is oftentimes much stronger than any kind of science related articles out there.
so what would you tell the person that is struggling with their job? They are suffering in their job, but it pays good, it provides for their family, but they don't feel good about it. It's stable. They're stable though. What would you tell that person?
Yeah. It's a great question. It's very similar to if somebody's listening, if they're like, "Oh, it pays for me for my family and it saves my relationship," right?
But they're suffering, yeah.
Yeah. So I tend to draw it back to one study, which because this is especially a thing for that I hear more often from men and women, where if men continuously sleep less than 6 hours a night, they lose testosterone equivalent of about 10 years of their life. So you
Mm.
literally lose a core part of yourself. And the other aspect that I tell people is like, look, you can work out as much as you want, but when you're stressed, you literally reduce your workout effects by about 30 to 50%. So you need to work harder, not just physically, but also mentally when you're stressed and when you're not feeling good. It takes a lot more energy. Most likely, the people that are also suffering have bodily aches or bodily issues. And they will tell you exactly where you need to stop and what you need to do in order to feel better, right? But most people think, well, that's still BS, but it's all connected. We all have the science behind that, right? So I'm like, look at your body, what it's telling you. Where do you have aches? Since when have you had them? It's all connected. And then ask yourself genuinely, especially if you have young kids, would I tell people that, like, when they're 18, do you want to be able to celebrate their graduation? Some people, if they continue like they are, might not be able to do that. If when your kids grow up, do you want them to tell the story of the dad that was never there for them? Or do you want them to tell the memories of, the fun things you did with them? And
Mm.
unfortunately, a lot of people say, oh, it's going to be fine. And, the kids are going to be fine. But no, you're going to regret it later that you don't have a relationship with your kids, that maybe the relationship with your wife broke. You're going to be lonely. Like, there's so many more people that have tons of sums of money that they will never know what they're going to do with it. But they've broken relationships. They don't know who to trust. They might not have any close friends anymore. And they're just suffering because they
Oh, you
focused on the
mean
wrong
like
things
they're
first.
like the person that's financially good, but everything else is falling apart.
Yeah, because they lost in the run of accomplishing that, they lost touch with themselves.
Mm.
They don't know how to fulfill their own needs. They don't know how to voice their needs. They might not even know how to love themselves. And so they're also unable to show that to another person. And oftentimes that is combined with people trying to fulfill some sort of societal standards that they grew up with, that maybe they're getting from their parents. I mean, you having Filipino heritage, you know that a little bit, you know how strong parents' influence is. And that can really be a struggle to break out of that, you know?
Yeah, you. I think at the end of the day, you really have to reflect and look within and constantly ask yourself, like, how do I feel? Does this feel good? What do I want? What does my future look like? Um, and start slowly taking that route of life.
Yeah, and then you have people say, you know what, yeah, but I don't need to feel good, I just need to get things done. But when you
Mm.
try to get things done and you don't feel good, you get a much less a
It's a
worse
cycle.
worse outcome. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
it's a cycle.
cycle.
Like you literally
Yeah.
perform worse if you don't feel good. Like we know that. It's there. You get more sick, you get sick more often, you um have more difficulty with person-to-person relationships and so on. So your feeling good is essential, is valid, and it's important for you to do good work in this world.
I think it's a form of self sabotage. And then I think a lot of times people self sabotage to create a new excuse for themselves,
Yeah.
to victimize themselves. Like, and some people, they do it subconsciously. Like they haven't done the work, that they don't realize that they're self sabotaging so much. And you really just have to take a step back and reflect.
Yeah, because change is perceived as dangerous for the brain. So even if what you're doing means you're suffering and it hurts, your brain is always going to try harder to keep you where you are than to help you change. So that's why, again, you have to take an active part and play an active role in changing your brain and the way you think if you want a better life, if you want a different outcome, and help it understand that, hey, actually change isn't dangerous. There's something, in fact, much more beautiful out there for me than what I'm having right now, because obviously right now I'm suffering and I don't want to suffer, so I have to do things differently.
How do you manage your energy?
I think I just look at myself and see, how do I feel? Am I breathing properly? Am I feeling tight somewhere?
Yeah.
Um, I know like if I get headache, that there's been too much in my mind and I need to, be calmer and chill
Go
out
for a
more.
walk or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do sports, do something that literally takes off my mind, that
Mm,
forces me to not think. So I
yeah.
have specific things in my life that I do where I do not need to think. So when I
To
travel, for
detach.
example,
Yeah.
yeah, like I would do cooking workshops, I would do pottery workshops, I would do any sports class related aspect, like anything that just takes off my mind.
Yeah. No, I love that. I play like RPG games. That's what takes me. Like
What's that?
Elden Ring or like a uh video games where it's like
Huh?
I don't know. There's this like popular video game called Elden Ring, and it's like that's my form of detachment. Like I like a role playing game. Like you're playing this
Yeah.
character and you detach from everything.
Hmm.
Um, or I go work out and I'll like go all out in the gym or something. Like stuff like that. That helps me detach. Or just like if I've been working for an hour and I want to take a break, 5 minute walk, try to get
Hmm.
some fresh air.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those things are even easier if you have a pet. So I just took care for
Oh
one and a
yeah.
half weeks of a friend's dog. And it was amazing because, like, I was forced to go out 3 times a day. I was forced to, be out at least an hour a day. And in between that, that little amazing fur ball just, always came to me demanding love. And obviously that helped me again, right? So it was great. If you have pets, like, oh gosh, it's so much better even.
Do you see yourself like always traveling, or do you have like a place that you call home? Is like Austria, will that always be a part of your home, or like what is like a settled, I don't want to say settled down life, but like do you see yourself like with a family and like not traveling so much? Uh, like do you see a period of that in your life?
Yeah, so I've noticed that a home for me is where I do have a community of people and where, sometimes when I just go out, I bump into people I know. And there are a few places of that in the world. I mean, Austria is definitely one of those. Ghana is one of those. Absolutely loved
Mm.
it. Um, Austin has grown on me quite a bit. I'm not gonna lie to you. It did. Um, yeah, there's a few. There's a few. I can imagine having a family and kids, and I know that when that happens, I'm gonna move more in one place. And
Yeah.
when it gets there, I'm gonna be okay with it because I won't
Mm.
have the feeling of missing out on it. But I know
Mm.
at the same time, I'm gonna have this amazing knowledge where I can just take my kids to a safari, where I can offer them different education opportunities, and where I'm gonna parent from a place of like, you know what? I'm enough. I'm good with where I am. I know I've gathered enough experience to be a good parent, and I can always travel later again, and just reduce it for a bit. But um, even with kids, you after I guess the first couple of years or so, you can take them to places where it's going to be of value to them as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you're, I guess, most proud of out of all your achievements?
Honestly, I think it's the fact that I can get up no matter what happens and still be sane and healthy. So there's nothing that has happened to me that has thrown me off as much that I couldn't solve. And what I mean by that is, for example,
Mm.
in my teenage years, I got allergies because of the stress that I had and
Mm.
experienced. And so I got rid of these allergies. Um, I and then I've really learned to understand fear and how the mind works. And that if I follow my intuition, if I make sure I am in good energy, for lack of a better word, to generalize it, most of the time I'm having a really good experience in this life. So I think I'm just proud that I've understood that I've continued working on that over the years, and hopefully with that inspire other people to do a little bit the same. Yeah.
You're so nonchalant about it. Just like so casual about it. Like, yeah, just trying to conquer the world.
No, I'm really not. I don't need that. I don't need
I
that.
know, but it's like that, like that. Like you're so nonchalant about like great things you've done. It's like somebody like it's like Hitler saying like, yeah, like we just we're like one of the strongest armies in the world, or it's whatever. That's my typical
That's a really
Tuesday.
bad comparison right now,
Or
okay?
not Hitler, not well, just like
I need to
somebody
cut that out.
or
You
somebody
might
like
want to cut
I
that
don't
out.
know, somebody a good leader
Thank you.
that I don't know, Martin Luther King saying like, I had a dream like last Tuesday about seeing a new world. That's you. I'm not trying
I
to
think
make
I'm just,
fun of you. It's
yeah.
just it's a good thing. I like it. It's good.
Yeah, I think I just do things, right? Like, and I see, and I think the past years I've seen even more how that probably differentiates me a little bit is when I say something, I'll do it. And many people just talk and they'll walk their talk. And I think I just take it very seriously because I know that other people rely on me and it builds trust in other people. And I think trust is something we need a lot more of these days. And I figured that whatever it is in this world, I could learn it if I wanted to. I could because I've seen improvement in myself, and the only limits that we have is in our heads. And I know that sounds very woo-ish and a motivational rant, like,
No,
but
it's true. It's true.
that's literally it, right? So, and combine that with understanding that your only point in this life is to enjoy it, to live it in a way that you're happy, and keep an eye on that, then yeah, I think you can have a lot of fun here. I think I've just seen way too many people or heard way too many stories of people that get to an old age and then just say, "Oh, I regret not having done this," or I regret not like nobody who is about to die says, "Oh, I wish I worked more."
Yeah, they're called deathbed regrets. Yeah,
Yeah,
deathbed regrets.
yeah.
Man, it seems like you're like an enlightened soul that has came to speak some wisdom on this podcast, and you're just here for the
Um,
ride.
yeah. If it helps other people, wonderful.
So nonchalant.
Yeah, that's just me. It's look, I'm also like, I think a
Uh,
little bit of that is also like, a question I get asked quite frequently still, for
right.
obviously, which is normal for people that haven't met me yet. They're like, "Oh, to which countries have you been?" And I'm like,
All of them.
um, can I give you a number? Because that would be easier. And be like, yeah. And then so I'm like, okay, it's by now it's pretty much 100. Um, and they're like, oh. So and it's for me, it's been so normal to just go after that because it's something I want and it's something I dream about. And then I realized that not what most people do. Most people spend their days and weeks and years going to a cubicle to a job that they don't like and they think that's normal. And I just want people to see that that's not normal.
Hmm.
Or at least not anymore. It doesn't have to be normal anymore. And that you can enjoy life in so many different ways. So, yeah.
Um, so how do you step into your fears? When you're afraid of something, you say you like to just do stuff and go out and do it. And I think that's why you trust yourself so much because you do what you say. And I think that's a great way to build trust is that's I mean that's how you build trust. You do what you say and you show up with integrity. And I think that's a very good thing to have. So how do you step into your fears?
I think I have a very brave way of just doing the things I'm afraid of. And that started off with one key experience. There was another one before, but the one I tend to highlight more is when I was 18. I wanted to work abroad because I couldn't study abroad and because of lack of finances and all that stuff. And so I went to Nigeria, and out of like, I messaged over 50 countries and applied to different things, and it ended up being Nigeria because the only things I knew back then about the country were negative things, right? Like rape, war, poverty,
Mm,
drugs, bribery, and so on.
yeah.
And I don't know what it was, but I was like, I want to see how it really is. Like, I couldn't believe that one country, one people is all that. And that really shaped me because I mean, obviously, I didn't see that. I saw a lot of other wonderful things. I met amazing people that I still know and connect with. I still keep going back. I mean, my company even has a Nigerian name to it, right? Where I want to use that opportunity to tell a different story about the country. And it showed me the power of really stepping over your fears, and that pretty much every single time you step over your fear, there's something so much more wonderful on the other end of it that we just didn't know because we haven't experienced yet, right? The brain cannot imagine what it hasn't experienced. It's literally impossible for it. And it was actually the second time where that really showed me that, which was when I was skydiving in South Africa. Because I was shit scared, man. Um, we went up in like 2.5 rounds, right? And I literally went in my mind, I was like, okay, if this was it now, I think I really enjoyed my life. Like in my mind, I was like, oh, thank you to my parents. Like I thanked everybody, in my mind. Said a little prayer. It was like, oh no, I think I actually lived a good life so far. I'm good with it, right? So, okay. And then you literally get out of that plane and you see the world and you see how round it is and you see that shape and you see everything under you and it's so beautiful. It's such a blissful moment. And I mean, all that lasts not even a minute, I think. And you get down on earth and you're like, what the F was I afraid of the whole time? And I don't think there's even any better moment or teaching situation than skydiving for most people to really understand what fear is and get over it.
Dang. I gotta I gotta try to go skydiving.
Yes, yes, yes. One thing though, I would never do bungee jumping because I'm like head first is a
Makes
huge no-go
sense.
for me. But skydiving, yes.
Nah, you got that. That means you gotta conquer that fear.
Yeah.
So you gotta
I
do
don't
it.
know.
Nah.
Nah, I'm not ready for that. Not that one. Others, yes.
It's gonna snap. The no, I'm just kidding.
I think I might just pass out.
It's just blackout.
Yep.
So you say you've climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. Did you reach the top?
Yeah, of course.
You did?
Yeah.
Because I was reading the statistics on their website. I guess they have a website, and it says 50% of people experience mountain sickness. Did you have a mountain sickness?
No, not at all. And I tell you why, which is also again fairly logical to me, is because I mean 3 weeks before that I felt sick, so I didn't really have much preparation to do. Although I have to say I'm a fairly sporty person, so I tend to work out every second day. But still, to walk up that altitude and to hike that much is quite a challenge for the body. And so because I was sick, I was forced to like either say, you know what, I'm not going to do this trip, but I'd already planned it. And so once I set my
Hmm.
mind to something, I'm just stubborn. I can be really stubborn. So I just kept visualizing in my head, like over and over again. I just kept feeling how good it feels to breathe that air, how good it feels to reach the top, how good I'm feeling all the way through, no matter how like fast or slow I go. Like I kept imagining that. And so because I trained my brain, the moment I got there, it was already looking for that experience. And that's the experience I had.
Man, you mastered visualizing.
Not quite fully yet, but I would say I'm pretty good at it. Yeah.
What do you think somebody who fully mastered visualizing is then?
Um, it's you have really you really truly understand any kind of subconscious blocks that
Mm,
might still be there that keep you from it. Because anything that you visualize and that doesn't happen, there's still something subconscious that's blocking you. You might believe you're not worth it. You might believe you're not enough for it. And I still have these things in certain areas of my life, right? And in others, I've solved it. So I've just shown myself that it's possible if I can solve it or resolve it, then it can happen pretty fast.
mm. Yeah, I gotta start practicing that more. I used to, but I don't know. I just got caught up. But yeah, that's cool though. Yeah, 50% get mountain sickness, and then 65% do not reach the top.
Yeah, I also never had a respect for statistics because I
Yeah,
knew that they apply to a very small portion of people usually. I have done enough research and studied enough at university that I know how studies are done and conducted.
statistics. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, and I mean, also like here, I think, it says like 90% of startups fail in the first 3 years or whatever. And here I am. I've had my company for
yeah.
8 years. So it's what you focus on. And I just never focus on failure. I just don't. I only focus on how would success look like or else. And that's something I have to learn again. How would a learning experience look like for me? Right? So it's not, oh, what if I fail? What if I fear? No, it's like it's success or what can I learn from this?
Hmm.
Right? So that's the two options I give myself.
No, that's exactly. You summed it up. You
Yeah.
summed it up. Do you have anything else you'd like to say before we move on,
No,
or
that's it.
cover before we move on?
That's all that comes to my mind so far about Kilimanjaro. It's beautiful. Glad I did it. Yeah.
Are you gonna climb Everest?
Yeah. And a lot of people said, after Kilimanjaro, that's when like a lot of other mountains come and so on. I love mountains. I love hiking, but I also have a lot of respect for mountains, which is something I partially learned with Kilimanjaro because I also saw how commercialized it is. Um, and I know people who try to do Everest, and I'm not trying to die here. I'm just trying to live pretty well.
You say
So,
you're not trying to die.
yeah, I'm just trying to live really well. And I think climbing Mount Everest does not belong to that for me.
It's too much on the death side.
Yeah, yeah, literally. Like I know a former colleague of mine went up with two friends and one died because of an avalanche, and that was just above
Oh
base camp.
wow,
Yeah, so
that's crazy. Maybe one day, or you could just take a helicopter right up
nah,
there to the top.
I think I'm good.
All right, where should we begin?
At the end. Do you listen to her podcast?
Sometimes. Esther Perel. Yeah. Okay. Well, this kind of relates to what we were talking about. Can you read that?
Of course it does. Share something nostalgic, something I grew up thinking was normal, but later found out wasn't. Oh, I think I already responded to that somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was normal. I always thought it was normal to live with integrity and just walk your talk. And then later on, I found out that it's not for most people.
It really isn't. People. That's what I think. That's what makes you so unique and special. And I think that's why you've done a lot. And you're only. How old are you?
32.
And you're only 32. And you still got a lot of life.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what's to come. Like for me, like my thing is like every year it gets better, and every year I get better, right? So,
Mm,
and I notice people at 30 already freaking out and being like, "Oh my God, I'm getting old." I'm like, "What
midlife.
do you think? What are you telling your brain here? Your brain is gonna make you old, so stop telling yourself that."
No, yeah, that's exactly. It's just like what it's. You manifest what you tell yourself.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
have to. I think you kind of. Your entire life. I don't think you were necessarily forced into it, but you kind of live this natural way of learning that. And everybody's different, but after listening to your story, it seems like you kind of like naturally fell into this mindset that some people get stuck in.
Yeah, I guess for me that was my survival mechanism, you know?
Mm. Well, Pam, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
I loved your story, and I hope people who listen will learn something from it. So my final questions, the first one is it's kind of funny. What's your biggest regret?
The one I've been thinking about lately is that I haven't really moved anywhere for a longer period of time. My longest time of living in one place in the past 10 years was Ghana for 7 months without traveling to any other place, just really being in one
Oh
one
wow.
place. But then also my mind immediately switches like, no, but actually you did pretty well and it went well the way you did it. So it's almost like my mind doesn't accept regret. So it just pretty quickly turns into something either, okay, then let's do it, or no, that's not the story we want to believe. So yeah.
What about like Do you ever have feelings where you feel like you can't do it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. And I think that's something normal for everybody where like we have moments of thinking, I'm not enough. Is the client going to be happy with this? Can I deliver? Um, are people going to like what I have to say? I mean, even Eleanor Oprah said that, but it like literally every single guest, no matter how well known they were, asked me after the show, was I good enough? Right?
Mm.
So, yeah,
Yeah, because you can't control how other people see you. You can only control
no.
how you show up.
Yeah, and we have this innate sense of wanting to belong to a tribe. And in order to belong
Yeah,
to a tribe, we need to be accepted by others.
accepted.
So we always look for acceptance.
Yeah, but I think me and you both are good at not necessarily needing to be accepted.
Most times, but sometimes it still comes up for me.
I think it's just an innate human like connection. That's just part. It's in our DNA.
Yeah,
Even though we don't necessarily feel like we need it, it's part of our DNA to live a happy, peaceful life.
I guess so, yeah. What's your biggest regret?
My biggest regret, trusting myself and committing to the trust. Because I feel like I haven't really done much. Like you've done so much in your life. I haven't really done much. Like I was in the Navy. Um, I tried a couple side hustles. I didn't really feel that good about them. And then when I started podcasting, I felt like you were saying that energy. And it wasn't just passion, you know. Like it was like how you say like you get excited about work and it's more than just passion and but yeah, I think it's just that it's not trusting myself and just starting to trust myself more. It's one of my biggest regrets.
Good. So that means you're starting to trust yourself more now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, good, good, good.
But my next question is who or what has made the biggest impact in your life that makes you who you are now?
My parents, I'm grateful to everything that they did.
Anybody else besides your parents or just them?
If we get back to it, that's really all the credit. There are other people in terms of professional life that I'm
Mm-hmm.
really, really grateful for and that had a big impact, that mentored me, that I hired as a coach and helped me understand certain aspects, helped me develop my mindset even more, and keep holding me accountable, to what I want, to what my goals are, my visions are, and so on.
I was gonna ask how do you hold yourself accountable, but I think that's part of trusting yourself, right?
Yeah, and I'm not too, which is funny because I think I'm not too good at that. Other people
Holding
would see
yourself.
me and would think, yeah.
Really?
Um, but then also I think a lot of people would tell me you were too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
So these days especially, I'm leveraging more the power of like peer network and peer accountability. So whether
Mm.
that's like any kind of business coaching that I'm part of, or
Mm-hmm.
every Monday, for example, I have a catch up with a now would call friend where we talk about certain business aspects, almost like a one-to-one mastermind. Um, and now, for example, just today I started a 22-day no sugar challenge.
Oh wow.
So I also have certain people that I do this with. There's a WhatsApp community. So I think really that peer accountability helps me a lot.
No, I think that's. I mean, I don't want to go back to statistics because you're kind of iffy
Sure,
on
let's do
statistics, but
it.
there's like a statistic out there. It's like you're like 50% or more likely to achieve what you want to achieve if you have someone holding you accountable versus those that don't.
Yeah, and I would say for anybody who's a business owner, it's almost a no-brainer that at one point in time you will have a business coach to help you get to where
Mm,
you want to go, to have that help to kind of like speed up the track that you're on and also help you avoid making mistakes that was already made before you. So, yeah, if you don't have it, get it. If, sometimes it comes in a version of paying for it, sometimes it comes in a version of being free. Um, it's a mix. It just depends on just pretty much look at what does it make you better in the end of the day, at the end of the day, and do you actually follow up more on your goals after having that conversation, that meeting, that contribution in a group?
yeah, and I guess not just having a coach, but when it comes to failure, the more you fail and the faster you fail, the faster you learn, the faster you grow. I think that's like the optimism cycle, if you want to look at it that way. But
Yeah, and
yeah.
I mean, I don't think I allowed myself to make a lot of mistakes in the past like 2 years or so. So this year
Mm,
for me was very much a theme of like, okay, failure. We're gonna try like I'll do more again this year, fail more, dare that because I was afraid of that judgment, right? What happens. But what I keep seeing is, and it's very interesting, is when I fail, when I make mistakes, people want to help. Like in the first
mm.
moment, I was still thoughts popping up of like, oh, I'm embarrassed about that. But then when I actually open up about it, all I keep receiving is help and understanding and support.
Yeah, because
So
sometimes we're
yeah.
afraid because we feel like we're by ourselves or something.
Yeah, and I mean for me, it was years as child, like many years in childhood of just being criticized for every smallest thing that I did, not even a mistake, right? So I'm like actively retraining that side, and it's been going well so far. I'm having a very positive experience with it. And yeah, I just, keep doing more things. Sometimes you feel embarrassed, sometimes not, and that's okay.
I tell people that all the time. Like, you have to, I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to do anything, I say. But I think it's better for you to have that mindset that it's going to be okay.
Yeah, helps a lot.
Like, you don't
Makes life
have to,
easier.
like, get dramatic about it. You don't have to. You can express your emotions, but at the end of the day, like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, and I think, for us women, we sometimes need a moment of getting dramatic about it because it helps us process emotions, right? But I'm saying, okay, but then limit it, right? So let's not get dramatic about it 3 times or 4 times every day from now onwards.
Like,
Get
don't
dramatic about
focus
it
on
once.
it. Yeah.
Yes. Have a freak out, right? Punch into your pillow, scream into your pillow, do what it takes, right? Um, but let it go. Don't carry it with you. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
people carry pain and suffering for an unnecessary amount of time.
No, I always tell people because my family, they see me as like a robot, non-emotional, stoic, cold, cold love. And I'm like, no, I just process emotions faster. I process, like, I feel the feel and then I move on.
Yeah, and I think, that can be a very beautiful dynamic that I think sometimes these days is underestimated or like just pushed to the side between like men and women. Or like we women
Mm.
sometimes need that reminder from men is like, no, it's gonna be okay. You know, you can punch your 5, 10 minutes in your bag or whatever, but then you know what? Let me hold you. It's gonna be fine. Okay? So,
What is
yeah.
one of your most dramatic moments that you can remember?
I mean, if I have a freak out moment, I can freak out, and it's like, and I freak out in a way like I cry,
Okay.
but I do it in silence. It's not something I would show.
Hmm.
Um, so, and then my mind can go from one thing to another. It's like one thing happening, mine is like, oh, but then this could also happen, and this could also happen, blah, 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 blah,
Like
right? So it makes
overthinking.
up just spirals. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Hmm.
And then oftentimes a good night's sleep just solves it. So when I notice that starts
Yeah.
happening, I try to stop working. I try to go out, meet up with a friend, maybe just go to sleep, listen to some good music.
Yeah. Chill out.
But
Yeah.
yeah, by now I've gotten pretty good at recognizing when it happens, but for the longest time I didn't, and then literally impacted everything I was doing, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah.
It's the power of self-love and compassion. But my next question is, what is one lesson you learned the hardest way?
That prioritizing myself makes other people love me more.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's
Because
true.
I gave too often too much of myself for others because I thought that that was the only way to get love. Because growing up, I, I got this feeling that in order to be loved, I need to work hard. I need to show others that I'm
Hmm.
worthy first. And I did it to the point where it almost burned me out.
Hmm.
And so finally, I've understood that no, actually, when I am just me, when I do me, people are gonna love me for that. And there's imperfections. I mean, it's okay, and I accept those imperfections now. For the longest time, I thought my goal would have been to almost be perfect.
Hmm.
Um, which I've now kind of like sunsetted and almost like an effort attitude and be like, you know what? Not perfect. I'll always work on it. But, I now can say, you know what? Gonna have my freak out moments. Here's how I react when XYZ happens. It's not ideal. I'm aware of it, but it might still happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're just human, and not everything is always going to be perfect. Even if you think it's perfect, it still might not be perfect. So sometimes you do just have to just, like you were saying, just go out and do stuff
Mm-hmm.
and do more stuff that feels good.
Yeah, and sometimes it that might also mean having a certain conflict. I think these days
Hmm.
people just block others, just drop the call, just ghost people instead of
Ghost.
having that conflict. Yeah, just meet up, talk, in person, better than just forget text, right? In
But
person.
there's for anyone listening to this, if you experience ghosting, I think there's this great quote on how to deal with it. It's if somebody ghosts you, respect the dead and move on.
Yeah, and it can be
If you
extremely
don't
hard
get that
sometimes.
closure, like
Yeah,
if you don't ever
yeah.
get that closure from whatever friend, family, relationship, intimate,
Mm,
whatever, if somebody did ghost you and you didn't get that closure and they didn't want to do that conflict to really get that closure, respect the dead, move on. They're ghosts now. Unless you learn how to start talking to ghosts and get like a machine or something. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, that's something that's still sometimes hard for me. Um, because,
Yeah.
and I think that mostly comes from the thought, I, I knew how it could have been if we just talked this through,
Mhm.
right? If we just had an honest conversation, human to human. Um, and so it's this feeling of pity, but
Mm.
then I also remind myself is I can't save everybody. Some lessons other people need to learn themselves, and right now, I'm not their teacher. It's not my job to be their teacher. Um, and apparently there's something better coming my way. And that usually turns out to be true. But in the moment, it's extremely hard to see that. Even for me, it was extremely hard because in that moment you go through these emotions like sadness, anger,
Mm-hmm.
fear, maybe resentment, right? And so I've just learned to accept these emotions, and it's okay to feel that.
And you
Sometimes
have
it's
to
okay to
feel
feel
them,
it for a couple
yeah.
days.
You have to
Yeah,
feel them, yeah.
yeah.
As long as it takes. And then I think that's what helps you move on faster too. It's like you don't want to hold on to those emotions. It helps to move on and get clarity when you allow yourself to express them fully.
Yeah. And a lot of people are scared or afraid of expressing them, so they just bury them and say, "Oh, it's okay, I'll just move on." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. You're gonna
You
have
gotta
to sit down on your couch
you gotta
and maybe
cry.
cry,
Yeah,
and that's okay. That's okay."
for real. It's hard for some men
Of
and maybe
course.
women, some women, but I think it's easier for women, but
Yeah,
it's really hard for men.
definitely. Yeah.
But my next question, if my dog doesn't stop messing with me.
He just wants to be part of the conversation. There you go. Oh my God. How old is he?
He's about to be 10 weeks. But he's like he keeps chewing my feet and I'm trying to.
At 10 weeks, this is his job. His job is to annoy you.
Yeah, I tried to like we went on like a 30-minute walk before this and he was passed out, but he just takes mini naps. But anyways, my next question is, I think you're already experiencing it kind of, but what would you want to experience in life if time and money was not an issue?
Good question. I would, gosh, this is adorable. Um, so this furry thing is definitely distracting me now. Um, I would travel more freely. Yeah, I think I sometimes still travel under some budget constraints. Um,
Like, would you still be working
yeah,
while you're traveling? Or would you just fully experience like the travel experience?
I would still be creating. I'll always be creating because I know my brain needs that. So I'd either be writing something, I'd be creating trainings. Like I truly enjoy that experience of life. And I'm not the kind of person who's always just going to be lying on the beach. I can't do that, right? Um,
Yeah.
I think the one thing I would probably do more is I would do more around community because then I
Mm,
could delegate even more. And I like creating communities. I like bringing people together.
yeah.
So yeah, I would say traveling more freely in terms of what I do,
Yeah.
even though I already travel very freely, in comparison with a lot of people. And then yeah, just this driving this community aspect even more.
No, that's awesome. I would do the same thing. Like if time and money was not an issue, I would be traveling in person to do these podcasts in like crazy, like awesome scenic scene, like because I'm also taking like film classes, and I think it'd be awesome to have like a cinematic like conversation, I guess. I don't know what you want to like. I don't know if you've seen like Christopher Nolan movies, like just any like a random conversation like that, but in podcast format with like amazing quality. I'd be doing that, traveling to Austria and doing this podcast, you know? I think I'd be doing that more.
Somewhere in the Alps with the snow in the background.
Yeah, and just a podcast. Yeah. But my final question is, do you have any last words you'd like to resonate with the audience?
Everything and anything is up to you. Everything and anything is up to you. So focus on yourself. Make yourself happy first. Even if you have a family, even if you're a parent, I think even then it's more so important that you make yourself happy first. Because only then you can do a good job for your kids, for everybody else, for your clients. Like a lot of business owners forget that is you gotta be happy and content yourself first. Only then you can be of value and of service to others. So yeah, that's what comes to my mind now.
Pamela Wagner, everybody. Anywhere you want people to go follow you or
Sure.
go to your business, support your business.
Sure. So you can always check out hustlelesslivemore.com, which is where we help people release stress quickly. So there's a free community that you can join. We get daily anti-stress tips. And if you are a distressed business owner, you can always go, well, a distressed business owner who, let me do that again. You gotta cut this.
Nah, I'm not.
I haven't messed this up in a long time. Anyway, if you
Yeah.
are a distressed business owner who's struggling with ads and wants them to succeed and, finally focus again more on doing the things that he or she loves, then you can go to ajala.digital.com. So that's AJALA digital.com. And you'll find a free training there and some more resources to help you out.
And go follow her on
Follow
Instagram
me. You can obviously find me on Instagram,
or
LinkedIn,
wherever.
everywhere. So, yeah, that's public profiles are there to be stalked. So do it.
No, for real. um, I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. And as always, everyone, stay curious, keep going. You got this. Peace.